I would like to welcome you on this podcast, Henry. And this podcast is already our third podcast, this listeners. And this time we will talk about the business of America or about the American dream for someone, I would say. Okay, so welcome you, Henry.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And I would totally hop on that. And I would like to ask you our first question for you. Uh, what was your first business and where did it start and how?
Yeah, it's a great question. My first business, funny enough, was a very stereotypical American starter business. I was in elementary school and I wanted to earn some extra cash, so I started dog walking. Um, and so I just walked the dogs in my neighborhood, and that's kind of where my entrepreneurial spirit resonates from, is that reward from a very young age of you provide a service or a good and people pay you for it.
That's this is that easy to earn the money in America? Sorry.
Is it easy to start like a side hustle in America, do you mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
I'd say yes and no. It really depends on who you are and what you're trying to achieve. I think it's a lot easier in America than other countries is because it's incentivized. America has a lot of incentivizations for starting businesses and side hustles of different, assortments. Of course, there's some things that are regulated, but most things are pretty well open. So if you want to go out and um, start doing really anything,
I would say that's
usually
amazing because most of those things are unable to start here, for example, in Slovakia, just because never, and not even single guy would let you walk his dog. I would say it's
really.
pretty pretty harsh.
And
Yeah, I would never let my dog to walk by someone else. Really, it's
yeah,
a dangerous country.
yeah, apparently, yeah. In America, I was 8 years old, and I just went to everyone in my neighborhood knocking on their door. I mean, we used to do this when I was in high school as well. Was in the winter when it was snowing. Me and my friend, he had a truck. We'd get in his truck and we go door to door through the entire city, um, knocking on people's doors, saying like, "Hey, we'll shovel your driveway for $40." And so that's what we did for every every winter during the weekends. We'd go out there and shovel people's driveways, and people would pay us for it. So it's
That's amazing.
yeah, I guess it's a lot more friendly in America.
Yeah, I would say you have much more opportunities than we have here. But let's hop on another question, and this is, I would say, harder. What do you think is the key to successful business? Because many young people would like to start, and where they should try to finding the key of it.
Yeah,
To
I
success.
mean, that's a good question, and there's a lot of answers to this question. There's three that I primarily think of when that come to my mind, and the first one is, what makes America the largest exporter of entrepreneurship and millionaires and billionaires in the world, um, when all of our statistics of even intelligence and capacity to manufacture are next to none. We have some of the worst education. We don't manufacture nearly as much as some countries like China and India do. And yet we outperform the world in terms of market, and it's the concept of try and try again is very pushed in America. Um, Whereas in the rest of the world, it's not. It's a staple saying for American children, the idea of if you fail, try and try again. And that's number one is if you're not willing to fail, if you're not in the culture of failure is learning, then you're never going to learn and therefore never succeed.
That's very great motivation, I would say, just to keep trying, but just they need to see the goal in it, I would say.
Yeah. Well, then
Because
that's,
the
that,
money must be for someone.
that's what really comes second is then, how do you identify a problem and then how do you produce a solution that people want?
Hmm.
Um, and that's whenever you start a business, you have to ask yourself not, is this something I'm interested in doing, but is this something other people are interested in having solved? Um, And if you can answer that question with yes, then you've got the makings of a great business because people will pay to get solutions, obviously, but they won't pay for things they don't have a problem with.
Yeah, but how to get people interested in my business? Because I'm interested in it, but others
Yeah,
just don't.
um, that's a great question as well. And one of my earliest mentors, he said to me, he said, Henry, your business is your Bible, and you got to go spread it like Jesus. Um, and what he meant by that is that you should start a business with the sole mindset of this is going to change the world. No matter how minuscule it is, if you're walking dogs, if you're starting a marketing agency, which is what I've done, whatever you're doing, no matter how minuscule it is, you got to think, I'm going to do it to such a level of success. It's going to change the way people live. You're going to walk that dog so well, like that owner's going to think that, they'd be happier than anything that dog's getting walked, or, that the marketing agency is going to provide such amazing results that every company you come in contact with is going to earn over $1 million profit. If you don't have that mindset and you go out there and talk about what you do, you're going to fail because you're going to second guess yourself, and other people will second guess you if you second guess yourself too. So you got to go out there and you got to genuinely think people need to know what I'm selling, what I'm preaching, because it's going to change their life. When you have that mindset, you'll go out and you'll knock on every door and you'll really get to let everyone know, here's what I'm doing. And when people see your enthusiasm behind what you're doing, they're going to know it's legitimate because only legitimate people are enthusiastic. You can't fake enthusiasm.
Mhm. Definitely, I agree. Like when we were talking about you know, those dogs and everything, do you think that America's business environment is hard or easy? You already talked about it, but for example, imagine that someone from Europe would come and start a business. For example, a high school student like me would like to start a business in America, and I don't know much about it. What would you recommend me? It's hard, easy, or where should I start?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really interesting is, depending on who you ask, the American dream is either alive or dead. If you ask me, it's alive. And really, at the end of the day, it comes down to perspective, and it's a perspective anywhere. Really is the way in which you view the world is how the world will act upon you. So if you have the idea that you will fail, that it's hard, that it's not possible, you will put yourself in a position to fail. If you go out there and you say, I'm going to succeed, it doesn't matter how hard the landscape is. America can be a really hard landscape for some businesses, and it can be really easy for others. But the biggest difference maker is the people who go out there and just think, I'm going to do it. It's this is what I'm going to do today. And if you have that mindset that you're not worried about it being difficult, you're not worried about the competition, you're just focusing on what you do and doing it well, you'll see drastic results no matter where you are.
So I believe in the potential of my business and live it, I would say. Is that the correct?
After your business is your baby. If you're not believing in it, who else is?
Of course, of course. That's a really great metaphor because some mothers are always protecting their babies or fathers are teaching them how to fight. So it's
Mhm.
amazing. Me, I would say metaphor. Okay, but what about the qualities which are needed to be a successful entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, so they did. They did a study a while ago, and they interviewed thousands of millionaires around the world to try and find what differentiates those who make success of themselves and those who don't. What they found is, of all the answers people gave, three things were common in all of them. Number one is that they were afraid of being someone. So, being poor, they were afraid of it. Number two is they had aspiration to achieve something else, being rich. And number three is they were narcissistic enough to think they could do it. They had a bit of an ego to them that they were like, yeah, I'm going to make $1 million. even though I have no idea how I'm going to do it right now, it's going to get done. Um, and they just believed in themselves to the point that people would call them narcissistic, but it was just them believing themselves, and at the end of the day, they did it. So the other thing as well is on the opposite side of that coin, though, is be friendly. If you're friendly with people and you cooperate, I mean, I work with marketing agencies all over the US to achieve the results that we do and work with people that we do. Um, and even though they're all my competitors on paper, I go in with a mindset of collaboration, and they want to work with me. They want to help me with my projects, and they want to bring me on for their projects. So when you go out there and you think, I'm going to be helpful instead of a hindrance, and you're out with a mindset to collaborate, and you go out with the mindset that I'm going to succeed, you will succeed. You will make friends in industries, and you will get where you want to go.
Okay, so we can say that it's important to make friends in a business,
Yeah,
also.
I mean, yeah, make friends and be friendly.
Yeah, that's also the important question. And one more thing. You mentioned rich, the word rich. Uh, there's always a question about uh, being rich or being independent. What do you think about it? Like financially independent. What do you think? What's the big difference in it, or is there any?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is. There's definitely a big difference because you can have a whole bunch of money and no free time. There's a great book called The 4 Hour Work Week. If you haven't read it, I would highly suggest reading it because he's someone who is free. He started just doing e-commerce while working his job from home and traveled around the world, um, and didn't work more than 4 hours a day, or 4 hours a week. Um, and there's some people who make millions who work. I have a friend, he works 18 hours a day. He's not free. He might have money, he might be wealthy, but he's not free. So it's a big balance, and I say there's five wealths in life. Five wealths. You have financial wealth, which is obvious, right? It's your money. But then you have your time wealth. How much free time do you have? Your social wealth. What are your friends and family like? Your personal, physical wealth, which is your body and your health. And then you have your intellectual health, right? What do, what do you know? Um, are you smart? Are you stupid? Those five things are all always important to keep in mind because you can have any one of those five without the other four. But if you don't have the other four, you're gonna hate living.
So that would be some of the problems, I would say, in business, right? And are there some others you would like to mention, like highlight them or something you came over with?
I mean, the biggest problem in business is no matter what plan you make, it's not going to succeed. It's not going to go perfectly. You're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to find out things that you didn't know about, you didn't plan for. Um, and the end will always seem out of grasp until it's not. Um, you have to be, in the words of Steve Jobs, you have to be crazy to start a business because no way on paper does a business succeed. And it's just the truth of it that you have to be willing to adapt. You have to be ambitious. Um, you have to be constantly changing to fit the lessons you're learning as you go through business, and willing to roll with the punches. That you're going to get the crap beat out of you, but um, if you keep standing up, eventually you're going to succeed.
Yeah, that's right. And I have also one more question for you. When you have all this knowledge already, I would call it knowledge or experiences with business, what would you like to or recommend to your younger self before you started the business? You know,
Don't.
what would be the first thing you would do immediately? Like everyone is doing, like, okay, I would change my past for sure, but how do you see it? Would you change it, or would you start somewhere else, or would you do the same thing?
uh, Dedication. That's, if you are focused, you're determined, you have discipline, you succeed. When you aren't disciplined, you will fail. If you know, is so many people make the mistake of taking one day off it can wait one day. If that one day turns into 3 days, and that 3 days turns into a week, and that week turns into a month, and that month becomes a habit. Um, and then you're spending the majority of your time skipping events, skipping meetings, doing things a day late, and you can't succeed on a business mindset. You can't succeed in business with a mindset of laziness, last minute ideology. You have to be ambitious. You have to do things in the moment, and you have to value your time. So much of my initial startup in my company was wasted because I sat on my ass. I got lazy. I wanted to stay in bed for an extra hour. I wanted to skip that meeting. You can't just like go to them, whether you think that anything valuable comes out of them or not. I had a friend of mine. He works at a big company as a sales rep. He took a call in a shower one day, and it was the biggest sale he made that month. That's the kind of life you got to live. That every call, every event, every opportunity could be the $1 million opportunity. So take it. Don't waste it.
I would say this would be a big motivation for me as well because I can see this on myself daily that I am just lazy and not fulfilling task in a day when I'm supposed to. It's taking weeks to get done. Like you could see with that block, I'm doing it already a week, I guess. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I
know
would say this will be a big help because yeah, every moment can be an opportunity, like you said, and
exactly.
we should definitely use it. And but when we are using those opportunities, mm, for example, me as a high school student in Slovakia, I see an opportunity in starting my first business. Yeah, I
Mhm.
have an idea. I have thought about, I think about it, everything, but somehow I'm scared of starting. But that's not it. I just don't know if it's the right way. What would you recommend in the start?
Yeah, I mean, what is my biggest thing that got me off of the fence of starting my company was that the only thing guaranteed in life is failure. That if you think that you're afraid to start because it will fail if you don't. It'll fail if you don't take that leap. It'll fail if you don't let yourself look stupid sometimes. Um, you can guarantee that it'll fail. The risk is that it will succeed. So and that to me was the awakening moment of why would I guarantee a failure when I can risk success? That makes no sense. But that's the reality of life is everyone goes around thinking that you risk failure. No, you guarantee failure, you risk success.
Hmm, that's amazing. But how would you like recommend to our listeners, because they are students, of course,
Mhm.
to start the actual business? When
Start it. Just start it
after
today.
this.
Whatever your idea is, however half baked it is, if you've only come up with the name of a company and the fact that you're going to sell cookies, go bake some cookies, walk around, look like an idiot with your tray of cookies, getting laughed at because you've got a tray of cookies in school and you're selling them for $1. I had a friend, he got laughed at and ridiculed because he had a lawn mowing company and he'd skip class. That guy now makes $500,000 a month. Be that guy. Go get laughed at.
So we need to like get down in order to get up, right?
Yeah, I
First.
mean, look, people are gonna look, Jeff Bezos isn't over here ridiculing you. He's not the one laughing at you. Why? Because he's got better things to do. Only people with nothing better to do, or that despise you, or that think that you're better than they are, will ridicule you because they want to bring you back down. It's a phenomenon called the crab in the bucket effect, where if you fill a bucket full of crabs, not a single one will escape, because if one crab tries to escape, all the other crabs will drag it down. People are the same way. If you try and succeed, everyone around you will want you to fail because they subconsciously know that if you succeed, they have no excuse as to why they didn't too. The only excuse is the fact that they were lazy and didn't do it. But they don't want you to succeed. No one wants you to succeed subconsciously. Even your own parents have that idea that they don't want you to succeed because it's too risky. It's all subconscious. It's not anyone doing it out of actual aggression most of the time, but everyone has that subconscious that they want to resist other people succeeding. So don't listen to anyone else. Don't listen to them laugh. Don't listen to their judgments. Don't, unless they're an expert at what you're trying to do, don't listen to the advice they're trying to give you. Some of the worst advice I ever got when I started my company was from my parents. They never started a company, but they wanted to give me advice on how to succeed because they didn't want to watch me fail or lose money or risk anything. They told me to play it safe. Stupid idea. Every expert I know told me the exact opposite. Go find some experts, take their advice, ignore the advice of your friends. They don't know. They will laugh at you. But when you're making more money than they in a month than they can make in a year, they'll still be laughing at you, but you'll be a millionaire. So who cares?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, you're definitely right. I can see that from my parents' side, that they are stopping me, or even the family,
Yeah,
to
it's
not
not
holding my head in clouds, how it said.
exactly, and that's culture. The cultural bias of what has been beaten into your parents will be beaten into you. If you want to get out of the same cycle that your family has been in, this to anyone. If you don't like where your family is at, you want to be more than what your parents are. And that doesn't even mean that your parents are poor or bad or anything like that. They can be middle class, they can be upper class, but you just want more. You want more out of life than a 9 to 5 job. Do it. They aren't experts in how to achieve, and you're young and you're capable of taking risks with little actual repercussions for failure. If you think it's risky to try now, wait until you're in your late 20s with kids and a mortgage, right? That when you fail at business, your kids don't eat and your house gets repossessed. That's risky. At your age, the only risk you guys have is that your colleagues are going to maybe mock you for making a silly video, right? For experimenting, for trying. Just go out and do it and get laughed at for a couple months because you tried until you start succeeding and everyone starts asking, hey, how do I do that? And then you're the expert and everyone wants to know how you did it and they want you to show them how to do it. And all of a sudden everyone laughing at you wants to beat you. It's the way of the world. So, and if you fail, cool. Like take the lessons and move on to the next thing. I failed, geez, 5, 6 different times at different companies that I built before getting into this one. Um, and every single time, people laughed at me. People were like, "Oh, it's a stupid idea. Don't waste your time. Oh, you look like an idiot, right? Whatever." But you learn more lessons that way. You learn new skills that other people don't have. Um, when you get, to the age
Yeah.
where, it's so funny in the US because everyone goes to college, and they don't experiment. And then they get out of college and they go, yeah, I've got a 4-year degree and I've got nothing else. And then people like me show up and we go, yeah, we've got 4 years of work experience with some of the largest companies in the US. Oh, who's going to get hired, right? Even if you're not going to start a company, at the very least, your experience in trying is going to make you competitive in the workplace. At the best, you're hiring those guys out of college.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think students shouldn't be afraid of being different from the others. I think it's
No,
the best thing because then you shouldn't be scared of asking the question, even the silly ones, because then if you won't ask, you will never know the answer. So
exactly. There's a
I
good
would,
saying. Yeah, you can either be an idiot for a minute or an idiot for a lifetime, right?
yeah, exactly. I
Just
think
ask the
this is the biggest inspiration, being idiot for a minute or the lifetime. I would definitely choose just for this meeting to be an idiot because I don't speak English, so I will be idiot now, but I will practice, and now then I will try to improve for the other meeting or the podcast. So I think there
yeah,
is a lot of potential in students because students' life is so, I would say, free more than the adult one because we are allowed to make mistakes now. We shouldn't be
Exactly.
afraid. The schools are teaching us that we should be afraid of doing mistakes and everything around it. But
No, it's
who
the wrong
cares?
mindset.
We should do mistakes and from mistakes to learn something because
Exactly.
then
It's my favorite example is, have you ever seen a baby walk the first time it tried?
not yet, not yet.
No, it doesn't happen, right? A baby does not just naturally stand up and start walking. It gets up and it falls, and it at first has to learn to crawl, right? It has to learn to crawl and it fails at that until it gets okay at it, and then it tries to walk and it fails at that until it gets okay at it, and then it can take a couple steps and it fails, and it gets up and it does a couple more steps and it fails, and that's life. If you can't be afraid of failure because failure is inevitable and it's consistent, but as long as you build on that failure, like a baby builds on failing to walk, eventually you're going to start running just like that baby, right? But if you fall over trying to walk and you listen to everyone laughing at you, you're not going to try again and you will forever be crawling. That makes no sense, right? Be like a baby. Don't care what anyone else is doing, what anyone else is thinking. Just keep getting up, keep doing it until it until you get good enough at it that you don't fall over. And then everyone's going to ask you how to do it. But, be a risk taker. Don't worry about falling and failing. Don't worry about what other people will think. Do it again and again until you're able to do it consistently without failing.
Yeah, definitely. That's the biggest motivation it should be done for, or given, better said, to students at schools, not just be
Yeah.
scared of everything around them. Anyway, I think I don't have any other questions. So I
Right.
think if you don't have anything to add, Henry, I think we can end this.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me, and I hope that everyone finds my insights
Definitely,
helpful.
we are
Uh,
already.
yeah. Hopefully, it gives people that push to achieve and fail. Just keep failing. You fail, you learn. You fail again, you learn some more, and then one day you stop failing, and you just keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely, I agree with you, and I would like to thank you for your knowledge and experiencing which you shared with us right now, uh, and I would like to wish also to our listeners a successful business for those who are trying to go up. Never give up, how Henry said, be the baby who is trying to walk. And
Just falling over until you start walking, and then all of a sudden you've got a business and it works and it's generating income, and then you got to learn how to run. That's going to be tough as well, but hey, you made it this far already, right? You can keep going. You guys got this.
yes, let your business to be your baby. And that would be everything from us today. Have
Alrighty.
fun, guys.
Adios.